What's up, everybody? Welcome to podcast. Now, I'm Alex, and in this video, we're going to be reviewing Green Day's Insomniac. Now, this is another Green Day review. We've been reviewing all of their albums from their very first album all the way up to Revolution Radio on this kind of Sunday feature. Every Sunday, we kind of have a music thing, a music video on our channel. And so we reviewed Dookie 2 weeks ago. If you guys have missed any of my past reviews on Green Day's album, make sure you guys go back and check those out. Again, Insomniac is today, and Insomniac released on October 10th, 1995. Now, if you guys are new to this or you haven't seen this before, normally I talk about the album, I go through, I kind of talk about the themes, I talk about the sound, I talk about what I like and dislike, and then I go through and talk about the specific songs. We'll be doing the same thing here. I'm not going to go into super depth on all of the songs on this album, and I'll explain why kind of when we get into this album. And obviously, if you guys are a Green Day fan or if you've heard this album, or if you have any opinion in general, let me know what you guys think of this album or any Green Day album in the comments below. Insomniac was a very different album, but at the same time, very similar, and I feel like that's what helps this album. I feel like that's what hurts this album. Again, it released only a year and a half, a little bit more than a year and a half, after the release of Dookie. Dookie released February 1st, 1994, and Insomniac again October 10th, 1995. And I think one of the main things that was talked about with this album is twofold. I think one of them is the darker and also the different kind of style that Billie Joe Armstrong used to write the lyrics. It's more sarcastic, it's more dark, it's more and even the music itself, it's got the signature Green Day feel, and that was always there. And this is around the time where people started to say, like, are they going to mix things up? Because really, from their first album to now, I think, between their first album and Kerplunk, they changed quite a bit, but they have, they have that signature sound of Green Day that they kind of refined and established in Kerplunk, and then really, people knew who they were with Dookie. And now we get to Insomniac. And if you listen to these albums back to back, you're going to find out two things. One, this album is much darker. The tone of it is and like even the chords of the guitar, it's not as kind of lighthearted. And not that Dookie is lighthearted, but literally just the chord structure, it's heavier. Everything's heavier. Trey Cool with the drums, and he even talks about how he was hitting the drums and playing the drums harder than he had before. You can tell. I mean, everything in this album sounds like it's really dark and heavy. The bass, the guitar, the drums, and even his singing, and just the tone overall is a lot darker than Dookie. Does help it stand out. I mean, you can listen to Dookie and you can listen to this back to back, and you're going to notice those differences. At the same time, you're also going to notice that they haven't changed all that much. That those generic songs that are in Dookie, and again, I love Dookie. I think it's one of their best albums. I said it in the review for Dookie. I think the thing that holds it back, in my opinion, is I think the albums that are better than it in Green Day's portfolio or catalog, I feel like all the songs are so unique. I think a reason, in my opinion, American Idiot is better is you go through and every single song you can really tell the difference with I really don't think you get that all throughout Dookie, and you most definitely do not get it here. I feel like Insomniac suffers from half of the album kind of sounding unique and having that catch and just kind of being the popular, even the singles, and there was a couple more songs besides the singles that are popular in this album, and again, we're going to talk about all of them. There's some songs that are really cool, there's some songs that are a little bit different, and they always do this. And I think that they got better with it throughout time. I think Nimrod is very different and does a lot of different things with a lot of different songs. It definitely makes the songs stand out. When you hear one of the songs off Nimrod, I think you can definitely tell this is this song and this is that song. With Insomniac, I think some of them, towards the end of the album especially, but even the first half as well, there's a lot of songs that just kind of blend in and have that just heavier tone. They're fast, they have the Trey Cool drumming, they have the 4 guitar chords or 3 guitar chords, and that's pretty much it. And they kind of all blend together. I love this album. I love all Green Day albums. I don't think there's one Green Day album I don't like. I really like this album, but I think Dookie, compared to this, it's just not even on the same level. I think this, compared to Nimrod, it's not even on the same level. I do feel like this album just has, it's just kind of sandwiched in, and even the time period, I mean, imagine, and I wasn't even born yet, by the way. I was born in 1996, June of 96, so I wasn't around even for when this album released, but imagine you hear Green Day with Dookie in 1994, and then a year and a half later you hear them again, and yeah, they sound darker, and they sound like it's a it sounds like it's a band that's a little bit more like angry and kind of gets out their anger management problems in this album, but at the same time it sounds so similar. So I do get, and I know when I was researching this album for the review, there was a lot of things written about it where critics would give it good scores. It got, 3.5 stars out of 5, 4 stars out of 5. It did really good. It didn't sell nearly as well. This album, I think, sold like 2.1 million copies in its entire lifespan. Dookie has sold 20. So obviously that is a huge difference. I think coming out so soon after Dookie probably hurt it. And just the fact that it's just kind of more of the same and not really reinventing yourself. And Green Day has really, I think, truly never done that. I think they've gotten better at what they do good. I think they've really narrowed it in and done that kind of stuff. But can you really say that they've had these albums that sound so insanely different from another? No. Is that necessarily a bad thing? No. But when the critics, when I was reading these reviews, and I was seeing like these people saying like it's a good album, but at the same time, like can they do anything different? Like are they going to evolve and change? That's fair criticism. I think it's very fair criticism. Although, again, when it gets to Nimrod and then it gets Warning, but then when it gets to American Idiot and 21st Century Breakdown, they all are a little bit different. But they all do have that signature Green Day feel, and they all do a little, their themes and tones and how they sound and what the kind of message is and how the music is going to work in each album. They do change every single time. I definitely would give each album that, and Insomniac is no different. It's a very good album, but it's not an album that I would listen to over and over. The songs to me just are not catchy enough. Even the biggest songs, even the biggest singles of this album, you could even say like Brain Stew Cross Jaded, though they are different and they are catchy and they are fun, and I'm glad they're including Green Day Rock Band, although not all the songs on this album were. I'm really glad they exist, but at the same time I don't think they're as catchy as Welcome to Paradise, Basket Case, She, any of those kind of songs, and even future songs on like Nimrod, the biggest songs on Nimrod. They just don't stand out enough. And I feel like they do all kind of that same similar tone where a lot of them are skippable, not because they're bad, but because it's like, I don't need, like, it's not bringing anything new to the table. But we're going to go over every single song. Some songs a little bit less than others. We're going to go through now every single song on this album. And the first song is Armitage Shanks. I don't know if I'm saying that first word right, but this is a really good song. I will say this. I think for opening songs, this song does very well. I don't think it's overly dark or overly, like super heavy in terms of what this album is going to be, but I really like the drum beat in the very beginning. I love that, and I like how they all come in afterwards, like his singing and the guitar. I like the guitar. I think these are some really nice guitar chords. Again, there's not a lot of them. There's like 4 or 5 guitar chords this entire song, but I think this song is pretty catchy. I think this song is fun to listen to, and this song is a little bit more reminiscent of like a Dookie song. And another thing to notice too is I did say I love Billy Joe Armstrong's voice. I think he gets better in every single album. I feel like he doesn't really get that much better between Dookie and Insomniac. I think Insomniac to Nimrod, it's night and day of how much better he gets in terms of his singing, and I do think Warning he sings really well, and obviously we get to American Idiot and so on, where he is a really great singer. But I just think from Dookie to Insomniac, it's not all that much improved. With that being said, this song is a little bit more reminiscent of a Dookie song, and this is one of my more favorite songs of this album. This is a song I can constantly go back and listen to. But then we get to Brat and Stuck With Me, and Brat is cool. I like how it starts with just him singing, and then everything kind of comes in, and it's pretty fast. At the same time, again, it's only like 3 or 4 chords, and it's catchy a little bit, but I would say it's not as catchy as the first song on this album. So I like Brat. I think Brat is a decent number 2 song on this album. I think it's fun. I don't think it's I think it's everything that the first song is, but just not as good. And that's pretty much it. I mean, it's a song, again, I will listen to. It's got that darker tone to it. But then Stuck With Me starts to get a little bit more repetitive. We're already on song 3, and at this time of Dookie, we've already heard quite a, it's still taking us on like a ride, and when we get to this in Insomniac, we're on to song 3, Stuck With Me, and again, it's like 3 or 4 guitar chords. It's the same kind of structure. It's the same kind of drum beat, and it's like, okay, you're basically playing the same song 3 times now. And I know it's not. I know they're different chords from the first, second, and third song. I get that. And I like all of these songs. I don't think Stuck With Me is a bad song. But I just think it's kind of unoriginal, and it doesn't really add much to this entire album. But then we get Geek Stink Breath and then No Pride. And these songs, now Geek Stink Breath is obviously one of their more popular songs, but again, a song that's very reminiscent of the kind of era and time that Insomniac was. I mean, the music video is with the whole, like, giving, the tooth surgery thing. Disgusting. I think I've watched that music video all the way through one time. It doesn't speak to me. I don't like watching that stuff. But I really do like the song. It's a very, very heavy song. It's a very, it's a song that's a lot of fun to play. It's a song that's really fun to listen to. I love hearing it live. It's a really good song. I mean, this was one of the singles on the album, and you can kind of tell. I don't know why. It's just got something to it where it is, I feel like, just a little bit more of that catchy and familiar Green Day sound that is like, okay, I can get into it. And then also, it's just a really good song. And I feel like, again, the aspects that this song has kind of is lacking with some of the other songs on this album. And again, No Pride, I do like No Pride. I like it. It sounds a lot like Brat. It sounds a lot like Stuck With Me. It really just sounds like the same thing over. I do like No Pride. It's a decent song, but it doesn't have anything that truly, truly comes out and like grabs you in. Then we have Babs Uvula Who, and this song is decent. I mean, it's not the greatest song in the world. It's a little bit different. I will give it this. It's a little bit different in terms of sound than a lot of those other generic songs that I would consider on this album. If you wrap up and you put all these generic songs together, I do think this song is just it just has something to it that's just a little bit different from those songs. But again, not really a special song to me. I think No Pride is a better song than this, so I would say that song just has something that speaks to me a little bit more. But then 86, I will say this, 86 is a good song. 86, again, is like 3-4 guitar chords, not much to it. It's actually a lot of the same kind of lyrics over. I mean, there's no return to 86. He says it over and over and over. But the message to it, if you look up like the history of the whole 86 and they're talking about like the bar or the club that they used to be able to play in, that they couldn't now basically because they kind of got too big. They signed with a record label, and you're not allowed to play there if you were signed to a record label. So, and they were kind of going off and complaining about that. I mean, they basically shut them down. They would do shows there for free, and they were really nice when it came to that. And they had, I think, since gone back and played. I think around the Uno Dos Tres era, they did actually end up going back there and playing for like a special thing, a special charity thing. So that's really cool. So this song has, I think, a bit more meaning that you can hear. Another thing that, again, with his voice, and it's not something I pick on him all that much, but is the kind of slurring or the fact that you can't really hear mumbling, basically. You can't really understand a lot of the things he's saying. And I think Dookie, he gets it a little bit better. And again, I feel like with the improvement to his voice in Nimrod, in Warning, in American Idiot, and then subsequently all the other albums, I feel like one of the things that makes his voice better in those albums is also just the fact that you can hear and understand what he's saying. With this album, I think whatever, like the whole rage and the high energy, there's definitely a lot of high energy. They even talked that they would drink an insane amount of coffee right before they recorded this. And the whole point of this album also was to have that kind of grunge and dirty kind of sound to it because it was kind of recorded in a different studio. And it was supposed to have that kind of not clean effect. And they accomplished that, I would say. It doesn't have the most clean effect, especially, again, when you go from this to Nimrod. Nimrod sounds more like studio-ish-y. It has that kind of studio gloss to it that Insomniac doesn't have. And that was done for a reason, but I just don't think it always works. And a problem with a lot of these middling songs on this album is the fact that you can't understand one word that he's saying in this on these songs. And so I do think that affects it. 86 kind of has that same kind of feel to it, but I will say it's one of the better songs on this album. Then we have Panic Song and Stewart and the Ave, and I do really like both these songs. I think the Panic Song is a very, very good song. I love that pretty much the whole thing. I mean, I'd say like 70% of it, maybe 65, is just all instruments. And it's obviously to recreate kind of a panic attack, which both Billy Joe Armstrong and Mike Dirnt suffer from for different reasons, but really, really cool. And it does kind of give you that kind of sense. I like that it kind of goes into it. The whole song is fast, but it really builds up. Everything kind of gets added to it. You got the bass, you got the guitar, you got the drums, and they all kind of build up, and then they come, and then they start singing very, very fast, very in your face. This style stylistically is so different from basically any song on this entire album, and I don't think this was a single, but I think it really, would it have flown as a single? No, I think a song with that much just instrument in the beginning part, I don't think would have worked, but in terms of being different, in terms of differentiating the songs, this song is the most different. I think this song does get points just for being the most different, but this song is I think this song is a really, really good song. This song is really clever and creative song, and I give them all the props in the world for that. And then Stuart and the Av, again, it's good. It's a lot. I think it's in the same kind of realm as No Pride and 86. I put it right up there. It's not the most catchy song. It's not a song that's going to reel you in. It's got the same problems those songs have with not being that much different. But with that being said, it's a good song. At the same time, when you have all of these songs that do sound the same and are all good, but they're not something that catches you and are not that amazing, and that you can't really even tell the difference between these songs, they become where it's like, do I need to listen to them? Because if I'm listening to No Pride, if I'm not a hardcore Green Day fan, can I get, and without, I know they sometimes say the song title in the song. If you eliminated that part, would you get some of these songs confused for each other? I think 100% you would, and I do think that hurts the quality of the song. Then you have Brain Stew and Jaded. Now I'll say this, the best songs on the album. They're a really, really great 1-2 punch. I know they obviously do this with songs in American Idiot. A lot of American Idiot songs kind of have that 1-2 punch as well. They work really, really well. Brain Stew and Jaded really start it all, are fantastic songs. Even when you hear them on the radio, they're put back to back, where it's just Brain Stew / Jaded, and they just play both songs. It's really cool. It's really cool because I don't actually think these songs work all that well if they're not together. And it's even funny, I think in Green Day Rock Band, they also put these songs together where you have to play them just in one continuous thing because they do work so well, the different kind of speeds. And I will say, Brain Stew is for the most part a slower song, and Jaded is a very, very fast, very energetic, very high tempo song. Love them. I love both of them. I think they work so well going back to back. Separately, I don't know if they work all that well. I think they do still work. I think they are still good songs, but they don't have that magic. I think there's a reason why they're played back to back. In the album, on the radio, on tour, on the video game. Every medium that you can listen to these songs, they're played together. And I think that's a special kind of thing. And I will say that that's a special thing that Insomniac has that not a lot of the other albums actually do. Now, Westbound Sign and Tightwad Hill, basically, again, they're kind of the same songs. Again, the lyrics are different, the guitars are different, all this stuff, but when you listen to them both back to back, again, there's not something that really is that much different. I do like both of them. I will say I think they're better than those kind of earlier, or kind of like from Brat on the Stuck With Me kind of part, Stuck With Me on. Besides the songs that stand out in that area that I just talked about in the review, I think these two songs are better than those, but they're not that much better, and I don't think they're as good as songs like 86 or even maybe No Pride or even the first song on this album. I don't think they really work. Again, they're kind of just forgettable in that way because you kind of can't even differentiate them from each other, so why should you spend the time listening to them? And then Walking Contradiction is the last song on the album. I will say this is my favorite song on the album. I love this song. It's a really, really fun song. It's not overly sophisticated. It's pretty simplistic in terms of the actual guitar and the progression and the music, but I do like the lyrics. I think the lyrics are very, very clever and very kind of funny. Again, pretty sarcastic, and I really do like that. I do like how it starts. I like how it starts with the guitar and kind of builds into itself. I like that. The music video is very, very cool, very creative, very over the top. I really do like the music video for this song a lot. This is a really good song. It's a really good way to close out the album. And I think, again, definitely the sandwich part, the first song and the last song are very, very strong on this album. I do like this song quite a bit. Like I said, I think it's my favorite song on the album. Overall, great album. Just has a lot of weaknesses to it that I don't think you can point out in other Green Day albums. Coming from a diehard fan like me, it's an album that I really, really enjoy with a lot of songs I really enjoy, and I don't think there's any bad songs on here. I don't think there's any songs that drop the ball and are just terrible, but they do have problems, and you can't... I think a lot of their albums actually don't have very many problems at all, and you can look at them and say, this album is a masterpiece. It's so good, but this album is sadly not one of them. But let me know again in the comments below, guys, what did did you think of Insomniac? What do you think now of Insomniac and the songs? Again, we've been reviewing Green Day albums. We do it every other Sunday on our channel. So I really appreciate you guys watching these on our channel. It really does mean a lot to me. In 2 weeks, we're going to come back. We're going to review Nimrod. I'm very excited to do that. I love Nimrod. It's one of my favorite albums, if not my favorite album from Green Day. So I'm pretty pumped for that. So thank you guys, as always, for watching. We'll see you in 2 weeks.